President Trump issued a new set of travel bans and restrictions, primarily targeting nations that contribute to threats of national security and public safety. President Trump had issued a similar set of restrictions in his first term to address other pressing issues at the time, primarily countries involved in terrorism. This list, however, comes as anti-Semitism and terrorist attacks are on the rise, and many countries just don't have tight security, and putting America and others at risk. Here to discuss this and more, Congressman Kevin Hern, who is a member of the Border Security Caucus and chair of the Republican Policy Committee. He represents the 1st Congressional District of Oklahoma. Congressman Hern, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Tony, it's so great to be with you.
All right, before we get to the president's announcement on the travel restrictions, I want to address the Senate meetings yesterday with the president concerning the one big beautiful bill. There's a lot of noise coming from the Senate side of the House, and I want to get your sense of where things stand.
Well, we're sort of in the eye of the storm. We had these discussions at length for the first few months of the presidency, but even before that, anticipating back last year and then getting to the election in November. So we had a running start. The Senate was behind because they had a change in leadership from McConnell to Thune. They also had to deal with, the confirmation of the cabinet. And so we had quite a head start on them. So they've been watching us from afar on the other end of the Capitol. And here we are today seeing them, express some of their concerns. But here's the fact, Tony. If you don't vote for this bill, you're voting to raise taxes, some 20% plus on all Americans. And that's just unconscionable, especially when you think about the last 4 years of 20% plus inflation under the Biden administration. So we can't do that to the American people. The Senate wants to put their fingerprints on it. They can. They just can't put, their whole fist on it or the whole weight of their body. So
maybe two hands, but not 2 hands and 2 feet. It's got to be limited. What do you make of Elon Musk now kind of trying to blow this thing up, trying to kill it?
Well, again, as I've shared with a lot of people, as a business person, this place really is hard to comprehend. You have great ideas. You want a perfect bill. I'm a strong conservative, fiscal conservative. But I also know that, the so-called phrase of Rome wasn't built in a day. Our deficits of $2 trillion and $36 trillion in debt wasn't done overnight. It wasn't done in the last 4 years. So we've got to start crawling so we can walk and run. What Speaker Johnson has done with such a slim majority is incredible. In fact, I had a very prominent Democrat, actually a couple Democrats standing together. They've been around a long time, very influential, say to me personally, to do what you guys did with only a 4-vote margin is really spectacular. We applaud you. We will not do it on the press. We won't do it on the Tony Perkins show, but we applaud you because we've been down this road and we had spending bills. So to do it with a tax bill is really incredible. So kudos to the Speaker. Kudos to everybody that worked hard on this. And now the Senate needs to do the same thing. I should just mention for context, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners that may have not seen you on the program before, you're a business owner. You owned a couple of dozen McDonald's franchise. So, you know about business, making a payroll, and how to operate in the black. So, but matching that with an understanding of how government works is it's a balancing act. Well, you have to build an allegiance. And again, the Speaker has done a phenomenal job at that, trying to find all the dissimilar interests and then putting those into a bucket. And we worked night and day at the White House. We did our trips back and forth to the White House as members of Ways and Means, as members of the House leadership, as I am with the policy chair role. And then the Speaker and others went to the White House. If you're part of the, the staunch conservatives that didn't think it cut enough, or you wanted to deal with SALT differently, the state and local tax exemptions. So all of these things mattered. Again, it was about threading the needle, came down to the last minute, and we passed it with 1 vote. Okay. Let's move to the travel restrictions that the president issued by executive order. And this is something he actually started in January. He just got the results of analysis. 12 countries he's identified as countries that have
bans on citizens from those countries traveling here. Now, in 2017, there were lawsuits against this, and it got modified and changed, but the Supreme Court in 2018 upheld the president's authority to do this. Do you think this latest executive order and these limits will stand on solid ground and not be taken down in court?
I do. One thing about the president, he cares about the safety of the American people. You've seen what he's done at the southern border. No laws were changed, as he said in the joint address back in earlier this year, that you just need a new president. And now we've seen almost no crossings coming across, bringing fentanyl that are killing Americans. It was the #1 killer for the last 5-6 years. He's lessened that problem in America. What he's doing around the world, trying to stop war. This president, President Trump, he cannot stand where these inhumane killings are going on. What happened in Colorado is just a travesty. I think what you're seeing also, even back in Oklahoma in the 1st District, you're not hearing people talk about deportations anymore. You're not hearing people talk about the border anymore. You got Democrats in Colorado. You look at the governor, you look at the AG, you look at Congressman Neguse, which is his district. I talked to him on the floor yesterday. He was talking about how expeditiously FBI and law enforcement in general showed up for that. And he said it was truly amazing. So people understand safety. You don't have a nation if you don't have a safe nation. And this president, President Trump, is going to make sure that happens.
Yeah, and I think we are seeing, here in the District of Columbia, just down the street from the Capitol, just a few blocks from us at the Family Research Council, a shooting of 2 young Jewish staffers at the Israeli embassy. We had the shooting, as you made reference to, in Colorado. So the threat is real. It's real.
It is real. And by the time it gets to, you mentioned the Jewish couple, which is just really sad, how that all unfolded. By the time it gets to that point and the people are here, with anti-Semitic views, the president pushing back on the universities. We saw what he did at Columbia. We've seen the battle with Harvard and things going on there. That has to stop in America, because people are dying because of those kind of conversations. And by the time, people are going to have a hard time living free, because by the time they get out on the streets, it's too late. So the president's trying to keep people out of the country and trying to keep people off the streets that are wanting to harm others.
Yep, and I think that's the way the American people see it. Congressman Kevin Hern, always great to see you, and thanks so much for joining the program today.
Thanks again, Tony.